It's long been recognized that for any society to thrive, it must have three pillars firmly in place. It must have a strong political structure, it must have a strong economic structure, but thirdly, it must have a strong religious structure. Understandably, increasing concern is being expressed over the economic effects lockdown will have upon our country. But little regard has been paid to the spiritual effects.
Churches are essential to the lives of real Christians because the Church of Jesus and churches are places where people can find love, hope, comfort, safety, and care.
We as pastors, as priests, as ministers have one desire in our heart, and that is to care for people, to keep them safe, and of course, to minister to their needs.
It seemed like the way government viewed church was very different to the way I view church and the way many like myself view church. So, for example, they considered Sainsbury's and Tesco's and these retailers to be essential services. But the church, however, was non-essential. And in introducing their steps to alleviate the restrictions on the lockdown, we weren't even number 2. We weren't even number 3. I think we right at the bottom. In other words, the church is insignificant. The church doesn't really matter. Maybe they consider us to be entertainment. But in my view, the church is in a whole higher level, way up above essential. But yet the government, we're right down here.
As we entered this pandemic, the church were the first to take responsibility to shut down even before lockdown. Because we understood we were entering an era or a situation that we haven't been before. What was, in our view, irresponsible of government, even though we had shut down as churches, was then go to legislate with severe penalties to now close down the churches. It is at this point then that we had to take a responsible action to now challenge government that our autonomy as church is protected by law under the European Convention for Human Rights and even as far back as the Magna Carta.
A church, by definition, is a meeting of Christian people in a special way, namely around the Bible and the sacraments. If these meetings are not allowed, churches cease to exist. No meetings, no churches. And this means a lot to Christians. Not simply that they have to forego some social gathering, but that the state is denying something Jesus commanded. Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I am in their midst.
The church has never been more needed in our society than today. In fact, figures show an astounding number of people in the UK right now are churning to the church through these painful, difficult, and uncertain times, with 1 in 4 people praying and 1 in 5 tuning into church services online. And while we appreciate the ability to use these tools to reach into people's homes, we cannot deny that more than ever before, we are an essential, necessary, and sought-after place of peace, solace, faith, and hope.
The communists believed if they could close the churches and punish people that attempted to go to church, they would totally destroy the church. And it makes me wonder sometimes what's in the mind of the government at the moment. Look, I'm old enough that I grew up in London as a boy. And I can remember my father's church was totally destroyed by a bomb. The church that then I was subsequently attended was totally destroyed by a bomb. But we didn't stop going to church. And look, I'm going to suggest to you, which was the worst? I think it was far more dangerous to be in church, in the blitz, in the bombing, than to be in this pandemic.
If people can go into supermarkets, if they can go into DI stores, if they can travel on the transport system, why can they not go into a church building?
I don't think stuff like this has happened since the medieval days. There is a freedom that we have in this nation, a heritage that we have that has been bought oftentimes by the Christian martyrs of people who value freedom, have given their life, and for the first time ever we find ourselves with the potential of being tagged a criminal. To criminalize good citizens of this nation just for coming to church and worshiping God in the way the Bible instructs us to.
If the churches can be trusted to operate the food bank safely, then the government needs to extend that same trust to the running of other church services.
We need to open those churches again. The church must be the very center of Christian life.
It borders on an insult with all that our churches contribute to this society, to be deemed part of the bottom category. B&Q, the bike shop, the bars are deemed more important, more essential than the church. If that does not cause you as a Bible-believing Christian in this country to rise up and speak and correct that, I don't know what will.